Okay, hello everyone. So Domino and GroupWise migrations are somewhat similar in what Eric spoke about. Obviously the process is going to be different if you're coming from a Domino or a GroupWise environment. I'm going to go through these slides here and highlight some of those differences and talk about the process as well. So on-premises is what we're looking at, and the focus here will be Domino and GroupWise. And one of the biggest differences is that they have their own directory, so there's some additional steps and process that needs to be part of that overall migration experience. And here we're looking at planning and preparing, so the business development that should already be done, and then for the plan and prepare, we're looking at the design considerations, how will you do account management similar to Exchange, the Exchange migration. We have some asterisks here, so for directory planning, we have to take some additional steps in migrating over the GroupWise or the Notes directory, and then for the migration plan, it's going to be slightly different as well. So I'm going to go forward here and touch on these. So from a migration requirements and from a basic migration requirements, this is what we look at. We look at the GroupWise and the Domino directory and the content there and what that means. We need to migrate that directory into an on-premises Active Directory. The usernames, the GAL, all the property information will come across groups, whether they were in Notes or GroupWise, will come into the Active Directory, any of the shared contacts. For the mailbox content, we're going to be migrating over the mail itself, appointments possibly, tasks, shared calendars. Things to consider, local archives. Do you GroupWise users or your Notes users use archives? Do you want to bring them into the Microsoft Online mailbox, or do you want to bring them into a PSD? Those are some things to consider, and whether or not it's going to be required as part of the migration. Migrating shared mail content, what does that mean? Rooms and resources. We'd be creating new ones. We'd be migrating those over. Domain shared mailboxes, we'd be consolidating those down. We'd be creating new ones. And the same thing with GroupWise shared folders as well. We also may need to provide basic coexistence, so mail forwarding, similar to what we spoke about before, and then understanding the calendaring coexistence and what that means. Things to consider during the planning portion of the migration, and again, some of this was already touched on, but it's slightly different. So for the directory strategy, when we migrate over that GroupWise directory, or when that directory is migrated over, or the Notes directory, how is account management going to happen? Administrators may be used to working in the Notes environment for this type of directory management. Now they're going to be switching over to AD. So those are some things to consider. Will AD need to be restructured or changed in any way to accommodate this other directory? From a migration strategy approach, what is the best approach for this Notes and GroupWise? It may be slightly different than the Exchange migration. You may have an environment that has Exchange and Notes in it, or Exchange and GroupWise in it. Minimal coexistence may be an option and may be the preferred route to go.
Yeah, I'm just going to say, on the Domino ones, most of the ones we've seen that have been successful have really taken a minimal coexistence strategy, just because the coexistence experience is really not as good. And GroupWise, definitely, minimal coexistence is what we've seen has been kind of the most successful.
Right, and overall, from my experience, from when I used to do field migrations, if you can minimize that coexistence, it's always preferred to go that route. I mean, doing a fast migration, obviously you don't want to do it that fast and introduce risk. But if you can mitigate that risk and mitigate the coexistence period, that can also help as well. Messaging assessment, so things to consider around the messaging environment. How many mailboxes do you have out there? Which mailboxes should be grouped together, or can all the mailboxes go? How large are those mailboxes? Okay, we have a question, and...
Okay, we got to say the words earlier.
I know.
It's Bedlam. Bedlam.
Uh-oh.
That's an easy one. And the one after that is chimpanzee, by the way.
Uh-oh.
So can the map tool do an analysis on the mail flow between Domino users to figure out who communicates the most together before Bedlam occurs when you migrate?
Yeah, so the question is, does the map tool do that? No, the map can figure out what is the who's talking to who in the mail flow and things. We don't have that data. However, I can tell you, because I know I've looked at both the Quest tools, analysis tools, and also there's another binary tree. And since I said binary tree. You get the first binary tree ball out there. They both have analysis tools that help you analyze your Domino environment to try and determine those types of things, like who are the people that are talking to who, and who has the big mailboxes, who has the small mailboxes, and things like that. So there are some tools around Domino for that. But for the other apps, other things, there's not. Even Exchange, I don't know of a good tool for that. So anyways, let's jump in.
And then there's client impact. So GroupWise and Notes, you may have different clients. Well, if you have Notes, you're definitely going to have a different client. You're going to have the Notes client, right? So those are some things to consider as well as part of the migration. So not only is the mailbox going from Domino, the client's going to change as well. Messaging applications, you may have, and this goes back to what Eric mentioned earlier, you may have applications out there within Notes, or you may have applications that tie into GroupWise. And what does that mean once you migrate the mailbox and once you migrate off of GroupWise? Back to Domino applications, planning for mitigation of the Domino applications over time. So those applications may not necessarily be able to be migrated up into SharePoint or some other platform right away. And what does that mean for the people that have migrated over to Exchange? How will they continue to work with those applications and Notes specifically here?